Let's see, where are we? Ooh, 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 wah, 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 ooh, wah, wah, ooh, wah, wah, ooh. I think today is the 1,500th episode of Babylon Talmud. Who has listened to every single one of the 1,500 episodes of Babylon Talmud? Is there anybody who has not missed even one episode? Mom, have you even not missed one episode? I feel like you probably listened to every single one. Is there anybody who's listened to every single episode of Babylon Talmud? How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Kufchav. Wait, what? there is no Daf Kufchav. Daf Kufchav is Daf Beis of Masechta Bava Metzia. Daf Kuf Beis. Are we even learning Daf Kuf Beis? Wow. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Daf Kuf Beis. Daf Kuf Beis of Masechta BavaKama. Friends. Yo, friends. Oh my gosh. My apologies about Daf Tzadi Tes. And that may have been the longest daf in Babylon Talmud history. And there was microphone issues. So, yeah, this morning I had this idea. So, the first time I edited it, there was like lots of static, and I was like listening to it over to see how bad the static was and if I had to re-record it. Then I had a chop that I might be able to isolate the static and remove that from the recording, which is what I did, but it makes it sound like a cassette tape from the 1970s, but it's like an old bootleg Bob Dylan. Nobody would have thought that it's Babylon Talmud from 2023. We could start. We could have a whole story that I recorded that episode back in 1970s in a basement somewhere in New York City. To a small group of renegade Babylon Talmud people. Let's go weiter. All right, but my apologies for the of all dafs to have that kind of a mess. Hour and a half. Yesterday's daf was, I think, 30 minutes or something. That daf was like 3 times the length of yesterday's daf. Oh my gosh. Yesterday's daf wasn't exactly small. It was just like a regular daf. Alright. Okay. Daf Kuf Beis. Masechta BavaKama. Halfway through the Amud, on Daf Kuf Beis, Amud Aleph, there is a 2 dots. And that is where our journey begins. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ima shevach chulei. Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda had said that in a scenario where the client requested from the dyer to dye it red and he dyed it black, or the request was for black but he dyed it red. So Reb Meir had said it's a shinui, and therefore the dyer is kona it, and therefore he has to return the value of the wool to the client. Rabbi Yehuda, however, says no. He's not kona it, and it belongs to the. He's not kona it, and he doesn't have to return it and return the value. Instead, the client asked the dyer to dye the wool. The dyer messed up. And okay, so basically what Rabbi Yehuda said is that, well, there's 2 options for what can be paid for. One could be paid for the, wrong dyeing, right? So it was supposed to be red and it's black, so you could pay for the value of the black wool. The other option is that you could pay for the expense of for the dyer's expenses. And Rabbi Yehuda says that you would pay for whichever one is less. Okay? So if the value of the wool is more than the expense of the dyer's expense, so you'd pay the expense. If it's fakert, if the expense was more, then you'd pay the value, the increased value. So if Yosef was sitting, Achore de Reb Abba, behind Reb Abba. Badadam, badadam, So I think that on tomorrow's daf, no, maybe the next daf. I think so. Yeah. And two more daf on Kuf Dalet Amud Beis. Apparently, Reb Abba was older than Rav Yosef. Now, both Reb Abba and Rav Yosef were students of Rav Yehuda. Just interesting. So because we learned in Masechta Shabbos, Masechta Brachos maybe, that Reb Abba was a student of Rav Yehuda. Reb Abba moved to Eretz Yisrael. Which is interesting. But anyways, Reb Abba was a student of Rav Yehuda, but so was Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef, of course, was a student of Rav Yehuda. But we're going to see on Daf Kuf Daled that I think that Reb Abba seems to have been older than Rav Yosef, and also says over here that Rav Yosef was sitting behind Reb Abba. So okay, interesting. Okay, it's just interesting. Yosef of Yosef Achoy Reb Abba. So if Yosef was sitting behind Reb Abba, Kamid Rav Huna, and they were before Rav Huna. Rav Huna was of course older than both of them. Rav Huna was the generation of Rav Yehuda and Rav Nachman. I think Rav Chizda is kind of thrown into that mix sometimes, but I think he's considered a student of Rav Huna. But okay. Anyways, okay. So Yosef of Yosef, Achoy Abba. Rav Yosef was sitting behind Rav Abba, Kamei Rav Huna, and they were before Rav Huna. But Yosef Rav Huna v'Kar, and Rav Huna was sitting, and he said, Halacha Reb Yeshua ben Korcha, Halacha Reb Yehuda. That Rav Huna had to make the statement, the proclamation that the halacha is like Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, and that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Ajin Rav Yosef Laipe, and Rav Yosef was very, very upset. He was very upset. Omar, Rav Yosef said, Bishlam Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, it's I understand why Rav Huna had to say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha. Now, of course, we don't know yet what Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha said, but we will. We'll see. All right, so I understand why Rav Huna had to say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, because Sakadai Techamina Yachid v'Rabim Halacha kirabim Kamash balon Halacha kiryachid. Well, Rav Huna had to let us know that we talk a passing like Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, because otherwise I would assume that we were passing like the Chacham who argue on him. Yachid v'Rabim, of course, Halacha kirabim. We have Machloikes Yachid, right? A single fellow against many fellows. So we hold like the many fellows. So I would have thought that the halacha would not be like Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, which we haven't yet seen what he says, but we will in a second. So therefore, if we're not to tell us that the halacha taka is like Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, even though he's a das yochid. Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha mahi, and what is this halacha of Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha that we keep on referencing? The Tanya that we learn in the Brisa, Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha Omer says, Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha milve b'shtar ein nifroin meyen, milve al peh nifroin meyen. Who could tell me what this is talking about? Shehu kimatzil miyadam, because it's like he's saving it from their hands. Who could tell me what this is talking about? This is talking about by the holidays of the Getchka holidays. The holidays of the Getchkes. So if you have a fellow who worships the Getchkes, and you had lent him money, so right, you lent him $1,000, and you have a document that says that he owes you $1,000. We do not accept repayment of that loan, right, during their holidays, because he's going to be thankful to his getchke that he was able to pay off his loan, and by accepting the payment of the loan, he's then going to go to his getchke and say shkoich, and we don't want people saying shkoich to getchkes to getchkes. So therefore, a document, a loan that if a yid had lent money to a getchke guy, and he has a document that says that he's owed the money, he shouldn't accept repayment of that loan. Was it on the day or around the day? Let me see, 1 second. Bifnei Eidein, before their Getchke day. So we're going to learn Masechta Avodah Zarah. It's not too far. However, we're of course more than halfway through Shas. So like if there is a sugya is more than there's more than a 50% likelihood that we've learned it. But Masechta Avodah Zarah we have not yet learned. But we're not too far away from Masechta Avodah Zarah. Not too close either. Probably about 1.5 years, 2 years away. But okay, so before the Getchke day, do not accept repayment of a loan that you have a document for, because then it'll go and say shkoyach to his Getchke, and it's not very nice. But a loan that there is no paperwork for, that's risky business. So then, okay, you can accept repayment of that loan because it's like you're salvaging it, you're saving it from them, because a loan that doesn't have documentation for it is risky business. If you can get paid back, just take it. Okay, so that is the that's what Yeshua ben Korcha's opinion, and Rav Huna is saying that the halacha is like Yeshua ben Korcha. And halacha Rav Yehuda lamali. How come Rav Huna had to say, right? So Rav Yosef, of course, got very upset, and he says, how come Rav Huna had to say that the halacha is like Rav Yehuda? That that you pay the lesser amount by the red dye and the black dye. It's a machlokas v'achakach stam. Machlokas v'achakach stam, halacha is stam. And whenever you have a machlokas v'achakach stam, the halacha is gestam. Well, what's a machlokas v'achakach stam? Whenever you have a machlokas, right, such as here, there's a machlokas between Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda with regard to this dyer who was supposed to dye it red but dyed it black. So there's a machlokas. And then, after the machlokas, there is a stam, which we haven't seen yet. So we have a machlokas between Reb Yehuda and Reb Meir, and then later on we're going to have a stam mishnah, an unattributed mishnah, like Reb Yehuda. So when you have a machlokas followed by an unattributed statement like one of the opinions, the halacha is like that opinion. So says Rav Yosef, I don't understand why Rav Huna needs to state that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Of course the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, because there's machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir, but then later on we paskin like, we have a stam mishnah like Rabbi Yehuda, machlokes v'achar kach stam, halacha is stam, ho. Machlokes BavaKama, the machlokes is here in BavaKama, in our mishnah. Litzbay le'adam v'tzvah shacha, shacha v'tzvah adam. That if the dyer was supposed to dye red, but he dyed black, he was supposed to dye black, but he dyed red. Reb Meir Omer, nosen lo d'mei tzmaro. Reb Meir says that, right, that the dyer needs to pay the value of the wool. Reb Yehuda Omer, im hashevach yoser ala yitzir. Reb Yehuda says if the increased value is more than the expense of the dyer's expense, nosen lo es hayitzir, so then you give him his expense, and if his expense is more than the value of the wool, you give the value which is the lower amount. Okay, so that's the machlokes here in BavaKama. V'stam b'Bava Mitzia, and we have a stam mishnah in Bava Mitzia. It's not that we learn in the mishnah called Amishane Yodal Atachtenu, that anybody who changes, so then he's got the weaker negotiating position. Meaning, so in our case, the dyer changed from what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to dye red, but he dyed black, but he dyed red. So he's got he's got to take what he can get. He's only get paid the lower amount. But when anybody retracts Yado ala Tachtona, also he's going to have the weaker negotiating position. So the question, so Rav Yosef was very perturbed. He said, I don't understand. Why does Rav Huna have to say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda? Of course the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Machlokas v'achakach stam, halacha is stam. Rav Huna, itztrich, Rav Huna says it's not so simple. Because Sakadaitech, I may have thought to say, Ein seder lemishneh. There's no order to the Mishnayos. And how do you know that it's a machlokes v'achakach stam? V'stam v'achakach machlokesi. Maybe it's takef fakert, that it's a stam v'achakach machlokes. And what it's saying is taka machlokes. Rav Yosef says, Yochi, if that's the case, kol machlokes v'achakach stama nema ein seder lemishne v'stam v'achakach machlokesi. Rav Yosef counters to Rav Huna, and he says that's preposterous for you to say that there's no order in the Mishnayos. And how do you know it's machlokes v'achakach stam? Maybe it's stam v'achakach machlokes. Says Rav Yosef, that's preposterous. Because then how are you ever going to have a machlokes v'achakach stam? Because whenever you have machlokes v'achakach stam, you're going to say, well, how do I know? Maybe it's stam v'achakach machlokes. Preposterous. V'Rav Huna, ki lo amrinon. Double negatives over here. It's not my favorite. I'm more of a positive guy. I'm more of a positive guy. I'm more of a true. I'll take true over not false any day. Not false. You can't even think about it. I'll call upon him. Rav Huna kilo amrinon ein seder the Mishnah. When we don't say that there is no order to the Mishnah, i.e., when we say that there is order to the Mishnah, bechada mesechta, there is order to the Mishnah when we're talking about one mesechta, such as if we're talking about BavaKama alone. Aval betrei mesechtis amrinon. But in two separate mesechtas, such as BavaKama and Bava Metzia, amrinon, we would say ein seder the Mishnah. There's no order, and therefore I'm not so sure that it's machlokes v'achakach stam. Maybe it's stam v'achakach machlokes, and therefore Rav Huna felt that he had to say that the halacha is taket like Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Yosef kula nizikin chado masechtahi. Rav Yosef says that all of nizikin, and when we say nizikin, I think it means BavaKama, Bava Metzia, Bava Basra. I think technically all, and that's what Rav Yosef I think is saying. But I think that there is like a mahalach that BavaKama, Bava Metzia, and Bava Basra is just really what's called Masechta Nezikin, that's divided into three sections. So therefore, Rav Yosef is saying BavaKama and Bava Metzia are not two separate Masechtas. They're two separate sections of the same Masechta, and therefore we would say that there is proper established order, and it would be machlokes v'achakach stam. Alternatively, mishum de katani lo gabi hilchasa psikta. Alternatively, because this idea of kol hameshana yada la tachtona v'chol hachozer bo yada la tachtona, that it's listed with other stam mishnahs, right, with other stams. Right, we say kol meshana yada la tachtona. Anybody who makes a change, he's got the weaker bargaining, negotiating position. Gosh, Babylon. And anybody who retracts also has the weaker negotiating position. So, because it's listed with other stams, clearly then the machlokas is going to be like Rav Yehuda, and Rav Yosef argues that I don't need Rav Huna, therefore, to say that the halacha is like Rav Yehuda. Wow, we're 20 minutes into the daf already, and this was only half an amud. Wow. I'm glad that we already did the half an amud, because that took a long time. I mean, not super long, but I guess decently long for half an amud. Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Hanosin Mos Lishlucho, somebody who gives money, to his messenger, somebody who gives money to his messenger, Likach lo chitin, to purchase for him wheat, v'lokach mein sorin, but he purchased barley, sorin v'lokach mein chitin, or to purchase barley and he purchased wheat. So now, there are two possibilities of what this can mean. The assumption for now is what it means is that they're going into business. They're going into business. What does it say? I know say most the shlucho, the guy who's being mishalech, the guy with the money. You got the money guy, The art scroll calls him the entrepreneur. I don't know. I'm not so into that. What else can we call him? You got the guy who's putting up the money. Okay, the investor. Okay, I'm okay with that word. The investor and the executor. The executor. Yeah, I think that's okay. The executor. The operator. Oh, operator is not bad either. The operator. The investor and the operator. I think that's fine. The investor and the operator. So the assumption for now, at least, is that we're talking about an investor and an operator. No, I don't like operator that much. An investor and the investor and the investor and the worker, I guess. Worker is a decent word. Sure, that's fine. The investor and the worker. Nice and simple. I like that. The worker. I like that. Arbit. Work. Right. Adam lamul yulad. The worker. I like that. The investor and the worker. That works. Okay, this is great. So the assumption for now is that we're talking about an investor and a worker. A worker? Yeah. I don't know what to call him. An investor and a messenger. We gotta go weiter. A worker. That's it. We're doing it. Investor and worker. Okay. So the assumption for now, take 100. Okay. The assumption for now is that we're talking about an investor who's giving money to a worker to go and no, I don't like that. Investor is giving him. I don't want to use the word entrepreneur. I'm not into that. Give me a word. Universe. Give me a word. An investor and a CEO. Investor a guy. Oh God, this is taking way too long. An investor and a guy. That's good. An investor and a guy. So the investor gives money to the guy. Yes, this is great. And the guy is going to go and he's going to buy that great guy and buy. This is good. It rhymes. The investor gives money to the guy and the guy is going to buy wheat. Okay? And then they're going to sell it. They're going to make a profit. And it's going to be great. Okay, I'm happy with where this is going. So that's one option. The other option is that Pashit, you have a guy who gives money to a messenger and says, hey, can you pick me up some wheat? And he picked up barley. But we're assuming for now that we're talking about an investor and a guy. That's way better. An investor and a guy. That feels really correct. So Tana Rabbanan, the rabbi said, Anosi Mos L'shlucho. So an investor gives money to a guy, Likach lo chitin, and the guy, this is great. The guy is going to buy wheat. V'lokach mein sorin, but he didn't do like the plan. They figured they're going to go into business, and the guy is going to buy wheat, and they're going to sell it. It's going to be great, and he buys barley. So he changes it, makes a change. Sorin v'lokach mein chitin. They had decided we're going to go into the barley business, but the guy goes and he buys wheat. So Tanya Chada im pochasu lo v'mosiru hosiru lo. So one Braise says that, if what he purchased decreases in value, so the guy loses money, and if what he purchases increases in value, the guy makes money. Okay, let's go weiter. Meaning the investor is out of the picture. V'tani Chada, and another Braise says, in pochasu lo, if what he purchased decreased in value, so the guy who went against the instructions loses the money. V'mosiru, but if what he purchased went up in value, hosiru le'emse, they split it. Reb Yochanan, and says Reb Yochanan, lo kasha ha Reb Meir veha Reb Yehuda. And we want to say that the machlokas here between the two Brises is that one of them is that the first one, where it says that whether it goes up or down, it's for the guy and the investor is out. And so that's Reb Meir. And the one where it says that they split the profits is Reb Yehuda. Reb Meir the Amar Shinui Kone, that the first brisa is like Reb Meir who says Shinui Kone, a change makes a kinyan to the guy, and since he was supposed to buy wheat but he bought barley, or he was supposed to buy barley but he bought wheat, because he made a Shinui, so he was Kone. And now it's his. And if it goes down, the guy, loses. And if it goes up, the guy gains. But he made a Shinui, and the Shinui is Kone, and therefore the investor is out. V'harab Yehuda. And the second brisa, which says that if it increases in value, they split it. So that is Reb Yehuda the Amar Shinui Eno Kone, who says that a Shinui is not Kone, and therefore, even though you're supposed to get wheat, but he bought barley or whatever, they're still in business together. Now, if he was supposed to buy wheat and he bought barley, and then and it goes down in value, so then the investor is going to be like, hey, 1 second, we were supposed to buy wheat, you bought barley, like that you're going to have to swallow that cost. But if it goes up in value, so they're still in business together, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Maskif lo Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar asked the kasha. That was Rabbi Yochanan's explanation, right? That is be'etzem the machlokas between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. But Rabbi Elazar asked the kasha. Mimai, how come? How come we're assuming that Rabbi Meir is the author of the first brisa, that it all belongs to the guy? Dilma adkano ka'amar Reb Meir ela b'midi dechazi le'legufei aval l'schere lo omar. Maybe Reb Meir says that Shinui is Kona when it comes to, something for himself, right? Meaning, he's giving a dye to a dyer. He's giving a wool to a dyer to dye for him, and he did not follow the instructions, and he did something else. So that's where Reb Meir says Shinui is Koneh. But when an investor is investing money in a geschäft, why is he investing money? Not because he cares about wheat or he cares about barley. He's investing to make a return on his investment, and therefore, if the guy was supposed to buy wheat, but he bought barley, and the barley went up, so the investor's happy, even though it was supposed to. They decided wheat, but it went with barley. Barley went up. The investor's happy. So therefore, maybe Reb Meir would say that Shinui is Kona when it comes to something like dye, dyeing wool. Or did we have the example yesterday? Did we have an example recently? I think yesterday we had, right, that he was supposed to build a chair, but he built a bench. In those situations, the client says, "Hey, what'd you do? This wasn't the deal." But when it comes to business and an investor, Reb Meir could agree that, meaning even the second brisa could be Reb Meir, that Reb Meir would agree that if the guy was supposed to buy wheat, but he bought barley, and the barley went up in value, Reb Meir would say, Givaldig, what is the investor is happy? He made a return on his investment. So Ela Amar Reb Elazar rather says Reb Elazar ha v'ha Reb Meir. Both brises are Reb Meir. V'lo kasher kan nachil kan neschor. And the two brises are talking about two different things. Just like we basically Batsim said a second ago, right? That there's a difference between when it's for himself versus when it's a business, when it's for business. When it's for himself, so he wants his based on his instructions, right? If he says he wants red wool, he wants red wool. He doesn't want black wool. If he says he wants wheat, he wants wheat. He doesn't want barley. So in that case, the guy's stuck with it. But if they went into business together, well then, even if he was supposed to buy wheat, but he bought barley, if it went up in value, so Reb Meir would say that the investor's happy and that they would still split it. Mochaku Allah b'mayrove the Reb Yochanan aliba de Reb Yehuda. That Maybe I didn't read that. Great. I don't know. Maybe I did read it right. The Rabbi Yochanan, whatever. I'm not sure how important it is. I'm not sure if I'm reading it right or wrong. But Rabbi Yochanan, Alibad Rabbi Yehuda, I guess, that in Eretz Yisrael they were laughing at Rabbi Yochanan's explanation. What does that even mean? Who has the audacity to laugh at Rabbi Yochanan? Interestingly, I think we're going to get to an interesting Maaseh with Rabbi Yochanan of Kahana before the end of the Masechta. But anyways, Rabbi Yochanan is like, he's high enough up that you don't laugh at him. But I'll upon him. So in Eretz Yisrael, they laughed at Rabbi Yochanan. Alibad Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, okay, that he had said that Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yehuda, who had said that meaning Rabbi Yochanan had said that the second brisa is Rabbi Yehuda. That we're talking about when they went into business. So the investor and the guy were meant to go into business for wheat, but he made a change on the fly, right? The guy made a change on the fly. They were supposed to go into the wheat business. He bought barley. And Reb Yehuda holds that even though he made a change, even though he made a shinoi, and he's not doing what he was supposed to do, he kind of acted on his own accord, it's okay, because Reb Yehuda says that the shinoi is not konen, and therefore the investor can still get his percentage. But they asked, "V'chi mi hodio leval chitin sheyakne chitin lebaal maos." Well, if they were supposed to go in the barley geschäft, in the barley business, but he went to buy wheat, and he made a change, he did not go with the plan, which means that he was not working as the investor's messenger, because the investor, they had made up to buy barley. He's now buying wheat, so he's not going with the plan of the investor, so he's not his messenger, which means that therefore when the guy is buying the wheat from the wheat, what I was thinking about, there's something there's like a fishmonger. Can you call it like a wheat monger? We can in Babylon Talmud. We've said worse things. To the wheat monger, I like that. A wheat monger. I was thinking that the other day when I was walking on Agrippa Street. I was saying like a fruit monger. I think monger. I feel like you only hear the word monger in the context of fish. Is that even the right word? A fishmonger. I think it is, right? A fishmonger. I think that's the thing. A wheat monger. So the guy at this point is not acting on the instructions of the investor. The investor, right? They had made up to buy barley. He's buying wheat. So how come Rabbi Yehuda says that the investor still takes his percentage from the wheat, but the wheat monger is not being makneh the wheat to the investor, and it's not like the guy is the messenger of the investor because he's doing his own thing. He's not doing what he was supposed to do. So how come the investor is entitled to his percentage if the wheat monger is not being makneh the wheat to the investor? He's being makneh the wheat to the guy. So again, I'm reading that again. My Rav, the Rabbi Yochanan, Libed Rabbi Yehuda, V'chi mi odio leval chitin shiakne chitin leval mos. Who informed the wheat monger that he should be being maknet his wheat to the investor? Maskeflo of Shmuel bar Sasrati. Shmuel bar Sasrati asks a kasha, if that's the case, afilu chitin v'chitin nami lo. But if that's the case, can't you have asked the same question? I mean, I kind of already answered it, I guess. Maybe I jumped one step ahead, but I don't know if I did. But anyways, the Gemara basically asked a question that we at Babylon Talmud know the answer to, but shouldn't this be the same even if he went according to plan? That if the plan was to go into the wheat business and he bought a whole bunch of wheat, still, how does the wheat monger know to be makneh the wheat to the investor? So Amr Babo says, Babo, Shiny chitin v'chitin. No, when it comes to, if the plan was to go into the wheat business and he went and bought a whole bunch of wheat, d'shlichuse ka'ovid uchyad balabai is domi. Because if they're meant to go into the wheat business and the guy buys a whole bunch of wheat, well then he's be'etzim acting as the messenger of the investor, and therefore, he's representing the investor when he purchases the wheat, and therefore he's entitled to his percentage. Teda, you should know. Titnan, that we learn in a Mishnah, Echad hamakdish nechosov ve'echad hamayrich es atzmo, that a person who's makdish all of his property, or he donates, he pledges his eirech to the Beis Hamikdash, which would be a fixed amount based on how old he is. Ein lo b'chsus ishto, the temple treasury cannot collect from his wife's clothing, right? Meaning a person who's makdish his property or to give his eirech to the Beis Hamikdash, now he has to pay. And so the gizber to extract the payment cannot collect from his wife's clothing, v'lo b'chsus bonov, not from his children's clothing, v'lo b'tzeva shetzova lishmon, and not if they had dyed wool, not if he had dyed like garments for them, v'lo b'sandalim chadashim shelokon lishmon, and not new shoes that he purchased for them, ve'amai, and why not? Lema hochanami miadir l'tzaba she'akne tzvo leisha. So here also, let us say, meaning, right, where am I? Hachanami. So, where am I? Va'amai lema hachanami, say over here, mi hodio litzabish yaknitzvo the isha, right? If you had a dyer who was dyeing garments for his wife, who told the dyer that he should be makne the garments to the wife? Elalav, rather it is mishum da'aminim, because we say dishlichusa ka ovid uchyad ishto dami. That we say, if I'm not mistaken, right, that we say that the dyer, meaning when the husband is going to the dyer, I think that's pshat, when the husband is going to the dyer to get the clothing dyed for his wife, so he's acting as her, so the dyer is not being makne the clothing to the wife, but rather, we say, he's acting on her behalf, and he's like the representative of his wife, and that's why it belongs to her, and the gizber cannot collect from it. Hachanami, here also by the business, by the wheat business, shlichuse ka'ovid, the guy is doing the is acting as the messenger of the investor, uchyad balabayis dami, and it is like the he's the representative, and it's like the investor, he's representing the investor himself. Omer Abba, says Abba, lo, no, that's not pshat. It's not because he's representing his wife. When somebody's makdish his property, ain daito al ksus ishto uvanav, he's not including the clothing of his wife and kids. If a fellow says, I'm be makdish all my stuff, he's not assuming that like now his wife and kids won't have clothing anymore. Maskif lo Reb Zera, but Reb Zera asked the kasha, v'chidaito shel adam al tfilav. But if a person is makdish his stuff, is he thinking that he's going to be makdish his tefillin? And yet, V'tanam, we learn in a Mishnah, hamakdish nechasiv, if a person is makdish his stuff, ma'iden lo tefillin. So then we even evaluate his tefillin there. So what, is a person thinking that he's going to be makdish his tefillin? Where am I? When the bay ein daito shel adam al, where am I? V'chidaito shel adam al tefillah, v'tanan makdish nechasiv, ma'iden lo tefillin. Right? So meaning, we said that when a person is makdish his stuff, it's excluding the clothing of his wife and kids. But the Gemara says, well, when a person is makdish his stuff, mistami, he's not including his tefillin, and yet we evaluate his tefillin. So Abai says, actually, when a person is makdish his stuff, he is including his tefillin. Daito shel adam al tefillin. A person is including his tefillin because amakdish nechasav saver. Because a person who's makdish his stuff, he figures mitzvah of avidna. I'm doing a mitzvah, and therefore he includes other mitzvahs. Vein daito shel adam al ksusishto avanu mishum eva. Yet he is not including the clothing of his wife and kids because they don't be in big trouble. Maskefler of Oshaya Sakashav Alo Chayve Arochin Shanu Kan, but we're talking about Eirech over here. When a person donates his Eirech, V'Tanan we learn in the Mishnah Chayve Arochin Mimashkinin Oson. That when it comes to Chayve Arochin, that a person who donates in Eirech this amount of money to the Beis Hamikdash Mimashkinin Oson, so we can take a collateral, right? We could take a collateral from him. What, when a person says that he's going to give his Eirech to the Beis Hamikdash, do you think he's thinking that they're going to come and like take his stuff from him and that's going to be okay with him? No, but yet they're able to do so. And therefore, I would say that I don't care what his intention is vis-a-vis is the wife, the clothing of his wife and kids. If he's makdish his stuff, the charity could take anything. If somebody's going to be makdish his stuff, it's as though before he was makdish it, he was, basically gave ownership of the clothing of his wife and kids to them, so that it would be excluded in his, so it wouldn't be his to be makdish. Oh, well, that was Daf Kufchof of Masechta BavaKama. I said Kuf Chof again. I guess a Beis and a Chof look kind of similar. That was Daf Kuf Beis, Masechta BavaKama. The first part we talked about the opinion of Reb Meir, of Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda, really, Stam V'chakach Machlokas kind of thing. And then we talked about this Gesheft and the Shinoi and the Sugi of, again, Machlokes Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda. Interesting stuff. Peace out.